social good. We now have a speaker who's going to tell us the story of how he has applied that approach to this important need of providing opportunity for young people. Gerald Chertavian is the founder and CEO of Year Up, and as one of their partners, I can say it truly is a partnership, and that he is dedicated to working closely with that three-point plan in mind. And so let's hear from Gerald about how that's going for Year Up, and we'll be inspired, I am sure. Welcome to the stage, Gerald.
Thanks very much, Laurie. Appreciate it. Yeah. Good afternoon to you all. And Laurie, thank you very much. Microsoft is a great partner, and we appreciate it. Thank you. I'd like to tell you a story about one of the greatest social and economic opportunities that we face right now as a generation. And it's an opportunity that is measured in trillions, not billions, and an opportunity that affects each one of us. It affects our global competitiveness. It indeed affects our democracy. It's called the opportunity divide. And for me, it started 27 years ago in New York City when I met my little brother through the Big Brothers program. No comments on gray hair, please. David Heredia is the boy you see in the photo. Outside of my parents, David was my greatest teacher in my entire life. And what I saw through David, because I spent every Saturday of my life with him for 3 years, was that he had all the brains, the hustle, the motivation. He had everything you could want in a young boy. But what he lacked was opportunity and access. And it was so clear to me after 3 years of Saturdays that it was the bank balance of his mother, the color of his skin, the school system he attended, that were deeply limiting David's potential. And I remember back in 1988 thinking, this is wrong. It's socially, economically, morally, it's wrong for people's potential to be limited like this. And guess what? We don't have to accept it. What I didn't understand back in 1988, which I do understand today, is there are 6 million 18 to 24-year-olds in this country right now, representing almost 20% of all 18 to 24-year-olds in the United States of America, who are out of school, out of work, and don't have more than a high school degree. The cost of that is $97 billion a year, $1.4 trillion over the lifetime of those young adults. At the very same time, and as Megan talked about in one area of programming, but if you widen that lens, we'll have 12 million jobs that will go begging over the next decade because we don't have the skills and the skilled labor to fill those jobs. Think of this as a wonderful supply and demand mismatch. Supply of young people, demand for skills. You say, okay, why is this happening? Many factors, 3 that come to mind, and one I think a lot about are economic and technical changes, whether you think about it through the lens of globalization, think about it through massive change in technology, or the fact that the skills that are in demand today are markedly different than they were 20 or 30 years ago. Can you imagine the labor category called middle skills didn't exist before 1970? It's now the largest bucket of labor category in the United States at more than 30% of all jobs, and it's the fastest growing sector of skills. And you look at one of those, say, technical sales and sales management adds high career lifetime value. It is valuable for the business as well. Where do I go to school to get a job in technical sales? You think about it, do many majors, degrees in that? You think about what jobs are growing, how middle skills are changing, and who has access to those career pathways. So kind of massive changes economically, technically. The fact is complex communications, cognitive, non-routine skills are growing and will grow. Even routine cognitive skills will go down. routine, non-cognitive will be almost gone in many respects. So they'll pay such low wages, it'll be embarrassing to this country to pay someone to have a job like that. The second thing I'd talk to you about is perception. If we looked at the young adults that I have the pleasure of serving every day, and I'll explain to you how, if we looked at young adults in this country who happen to be disconnected and looked at them as assets, economic assets and not social liabilities, we would have a different country. There's a perception challenge. And I'll show you a quick clip of a video that we helped create with the Ad Council that's now running across the country. In fact, they spent about $20 million airing this over the last 4 or 5 months, and give you a sense of what perception we would love to change in America.
Please have a seat. I'll be honest. Your resume is not what I'm used to.
I know.
Okay, so what would you bring to my company?
What do you need?
I need a hard worker.
Good. I've got 2 part-time jobs and to help my parents pay the bills.
I need problem-solving skills.
I got through high school without a car, a phone, or a computer.
No college degree, though.
Not yet, but life's taught me a lot, and I'm ready for more.
Well, you're not the typical kind of candidate that I hire. But you are exactly what I'm looking for.
Your company could be missing out on the candidates it needs most. Learn how to find, cultivate, and train a great pool of untapped talent at gradsoflife.org.
So although Year Up's name is not associated with that directly, it's something we started a couple years ago, and I'm proud to do that in partnership with quite a lot of companies across the country to start to shift perception. Who's talented? Where does talent reside? And the third reason why I think this challenge exists, which I'll talk a little bit about, is we have systems that are totally outdated to produce the talent we need today, right? Only 56% of people graduate from a 4-year college in 6 years who start. Only 29% of people who go to a 2-year community college graduate over 3 years. Our systems aren't producing the skills we need. And we'll do a little test just quickly. How many folks in this room have a college degree? Raise your hand. Keep it up if you got it between the ages of 18 and 22. I'm looking at about 95 hands out of 100. If you ask those same 2 questions of any 100 adults across the United States of America, only 8 hands would be up. We design systems in our own self-image. We think about higher education in our own self-image, often, as opposed to what does this country truly need, what systems, what higher education, to get many, many more millions of Americans through and to livable wage careers in this country. And so it was with that in mind that I had the good opportunity to start Year Up 15 years ago as an organization that works exclusively with low-income 18 to 24-year-olds who happen to be 95% of color, and moves those young adults from poverty to a professional career in 1 year. And we do that as Laurie talked a little bit about, 6 months of intensive training in professional and technical skills, 6 months of an internship with companies like Microsoft, Google, JP Morgan, amazing organizations around this country. They are dual enrolled in community colleges. We co-locate with community colleges to do this work, and we hold those students highly accountable and support them resolutely. That model has now, over the past 15 years, served 13,000 young people, 89% of which who graduate are earning $37,500 per year in places like Microsoft. It works. And I would say to you that at a top level, we're proud of what we've done at a macro level, but I think about what's the effect on the individual. And I think so clearly of Greg Walton, who was one of our graduates. And when Greg came to me, he said, you know, Gerald, and just Greg's background, he never met his father. He grew up in shelters. He did spend about 18 months in South Bay Prison in Massachusetts for something he did when he was 17. He's now almost 30. He now works at MIT for the past 7 years makes a great salary, owns his own home in Brockton, has beautiful Greg Jr. and his wife Alicia. And he said, you know, Gerald, when you grew up like I did, and you never met your dad, and you had some of the challenges I had, and you now take your son, and you carry him over the threshold of the house you bought with your hard-earned money, when you cook dinner with your wife on a stove that you bought and you picked out together, and you tuck that little boy into a bed that he will never be without, he said, my friend Gerald, I don't know if you ever know how good that feels. And that's what we do and get to do every day for thousands and thousands of young people in 14 cities across this country in partnership with big companies. And I would submit to you that the opportunity in front of us to close that opportunity divide is solvable. It is a real opportunity that is solvable in our lifetimes, on our watch. In each one of us, we got a watch, right? Maybe 20, 30, 40 years. What are you going to lean into? What's going to be different when you leave? What are your children going to say, thank you, Mom and Dad, for making it different? And I just finish up by saying two things. When you see a young person, like Greg, who I told you about, just believe in them the same way someone believed in you in your life. And you know how much impacted your life and what it meant for you to have someone believe in you. And then just take that one action with one person for a day, a week, a month, a year. Put your last name on them. Treat them like your own. Give them the opportunity your parents would have given to you. And let me tell you, collectively, we can make this country live up to the ideals it holds, and we can make sure that the words land of opportunity are not rhetoric, that they are reality across all of this country and all of its people. So thank you very much.